Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, Revolución Educativa friends. I am very happy to be here with you today, and I'm in great company. I will introduce my guest here in a moment. My name is Christy Moreno, and I'm the Chief Community Advocacy and Impact Officer with Revolución Educativa, the education advocacy organization in the state of Missouri, here in Kansas City, that advocates fiercely for Latino students, Latino families, Latino educators, and the Latino community in general. And today I'm very excited to have Isaura Garcia here with us. Isaura is a fierce, amazing Latina that I got to know a few weeks ago. And so thank you so much, Isaura, for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to talk and, just giving me a lot of a big platform to let people know what I'm doing.
Well, thank you so much. Well, let me share with you all that Isaura Garcia has become the first ever elected official, Latina elected official in St. Joseph, Missouri. She now is part of the St. Joseph School District Board. So she is a board member. We visited, Ivan and I visited with Isaura the day she was sworn in. It was quite frankly, a very emotional event for me. And we were very, very happy to be there witnessing, what it means to have Latino representation at a school board level, at a school district level, that is very much needed throughout the United States, but here in the state of Missouri as well. And so we're just going to jump and get this conversation started, jump on this. We're going to have a casual conversation to get to know Isaura. And I'm just going to start by, asking you, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a mom, and I would like to hear a little bit about yourself and your family.
Yeah, so for me, the most exciting part of who I am is a mom. So I have two kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I kind of just focus a lot of what I do on would it be something that they could be proud of me doing. But I'm also a volunteer at heart, so I love to volunteer around the community. And what I do is I'm an administrator and a bookkeeper at a church, and I also translate for different companies. And I'm a Catholic girl. I've been a Catholic girl for since I was a kid. My abuelita would kind of drag me to church, and now it's something that I do to my kids. I'm kind of drag them to church, and I don't know. I guess I'm someone who is kind of like an overachiever. I want to do things not only to make my kids proud, but also to kind of impress myself and kind of keep growing to inspire, other people too. I have sisters. I have 7 siblings. Unfortunately, I lost my brother in 2019, but we're still 7 in my eyes. And for my sisters, they're younger than me. So I like to kind of inspire them also to want to do greater things.
That's really cool. Tell me a little bit about your kids. What ages are they? What grades are they in? What do they love doing?
Yeah, so I have a 10 and a 7-year-old, and they are going to go into 5th grade and 2nd grade. So even saying it is kind of crazy because they were just little kids, little rugrats running around, and now they're kind of getting older, and they have very different personalities. I have my son who plays sports, but also is very interested in like insects and scientific programs and stuff like that. And then I have my daughter who is probably an absolute pop star. I think she just she grew. She kind of was born singing and dancing, and she recently did a talent show, and I was so nervous. I was like, oh my goodness, how's she gonna do? But she impressed everyone there, and now I'm gonna get her into theater. So she's gonna be doing a little bit of theater. So they're different, but they're very alike in the sense that they both really are lovable. They're both loving towards each other, and they're really good kids. And every time that I tell, certain teachers that I run into, since I am on the school board, I talk to a lot of teachers. I was like, I love your kids so much. Your kids are so amazing. So it's good to hear it from other people and their perspective on, the impact that my kids have on them.
Yes. And it sounds like they're very curious about the world and their surroundings.
Very, very much
amazing. It sounds like they get that from you.
I think so.
Yeah. Isaura, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, and I'm also particularly interested in your experience as a student growing up.
So I grew up in California. I grew up with a mom who was a single mom of, we started off as 3 and then kind of developed to 4 and then 5. Well, yeah. And we ended up being 7. But when I was young, my mom kind of struggled a lot financially, and she is a first-generation immigrant. So she came here when she was 15, and for her not speaking English, it was a hard transition. And I think because of that, she moved around a lot. It was kind of normal to us to move kind of like every 2 years, every 3 years. And I kind of got to witness so many different school districts. And, you know, for me, when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily like moving so much, but now I feel like it kind of helped me develop this kind of like oversight of what we can offer, you know, as a district, and how certain schools are in a sense providing more than others. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I grew up in California, and it was a good lifestyle, but it was kind of all over the place in a sense. But since we are you know, Mexican, we grew up around a lot of family, and that's the thing about us, you know, Hispanos, is we love to be family oriented, and that's one of the things that I'll always kind of bring with me, is always having those dinners with family, or even the parties and all of that. So it was fun, and you know, I really enjoyed California. We ended up moving here in St. Joseph, Missouri, when I was 14 years old. So it was very different, but I think that's kind of the first time that I realized how different it was in smaller towns and smaller cities, how they would treat kind of someone who spoke Spanish. So in California, since there's a lot of Hispanos over there, you know, it's kind of a mixture, and they grow up in there, and you go to places and they speak Spanish. When you come here, it was very different. Now it's a little bit better. We're seeing a lot more of a transition. But when I first got here, it was kind of odd for me to run into someone who spoke Spanish. And it was odd for me to even see an educator who was Hispanic. So it was kind of like a culture shock for me. But the good thing is that I kind of got myself going, and, you know, here I am.
That's beautiful. So tell me, I frequently get this question asked, and I like to throw it at people too, but like, what is your, tell me about your favorite educator, your favorite teacher, who impressed you the most, who really left a mark in your educational experience, a positive one?
Okay, so I would say probably my 7th grade science teacher. His name was Mr. Padloff, and he was back in California. The one thing that impressed me about him is that he was very religiously oriented. So, and not to mix, you know, of course, religion with education, but going into his classroom, there was a lot of affirmations, you know, at his walls that kind of, you know, just said, you know, this is what you're meant to do, great things. And his spirit was definitely always high, and he definitely cared about us. So I don't know, he really put an impact in my life of someone who was very God-based, but also just willing to spend his time making sure that we were, you know, educated, and that we felt in the surrounding classroom felt very inspired. So I really enjoyed it.
It sounds like that humanity and that empathy really, like, you know, left a mark in you, and it seems like you're very inspired by him also, but you probably became also, you know, part of what he was instilling in you is seeing that hope, that possibility, that opportunity, and the affirmation. Maybe I would like for you to comment on that, about you know, how the educational experience of students can definitely be impacted positively by the teachers that are there with them on their day-to-day. So my question also, you know, stemming from that is, what do you think about schools today? How are they different from where you grew up? And also, after you respond that, like, as a mom, as a parent, how has that experience, having your kids in the public school system in St. Joseph, how has that been for you?
So I would say when I was a student in school, I wasn't very, although there was teachers who, were very inspiring, I wasn't necessarily enticed by the public schools. So I didn't feel like I was, in a sense, being kind of pulled in by any experience in my school. I was, like I said, since I did move a lot, it was hard for me to kind of build those relationships and be a part of kind of, I don't know, different programs or so. But I think, for me now, the way that I view schools is it's probably some of the most essential part of an adult's life or a human's life, really, because for a lot of people, especially those who are living under poverty level, can be a change maker for them. Education is the best way to kind of grow out of that poverty line, because you're learning new things, and also you're becoming kind of inspired by different possibilities. And for me, one of the things that I always loved was going to the library and, reading different books. And I would always kind of be led by my imagination of all the possibilities that I can be and all the things that I can do. And for some kids, the reality is that they don't have these sort of images, and they don't have this stimulation at home. And so the school can really provide kind of that safe haven, but also really entice the kid and make them see a little bit more than what they would usually see. So of course, when you're a parent, it should be your goal to create these things for your children, or to create these experiences. But sometimes that's not possible, especially if you're working 9 to 5 and you're a single mom or single parent, or if you're just not from here, it's different to adapt. So for the school, it kind of leaves them with a lot of responsibility, but also great opportunity to inspire our kids to do so many good things. And, right now, what I see the schools as is kind of like a gateway to better things for them. And I think if we do the right thing and we really focus on creating that stimulation of them wanting to do better things, then we can grow adults who are going to not only be inspired, but feel like they aren't, because a lot of people kind of have that feeling like, oh, I'm done with school, like finally, but the ones who look back and say, you know what, that actually helped me a lot. And I'm glad that I went all those years through those experiences. So.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. Tell us a little bit about St. Joseph. For those that are not familiar with St. Joseph, what is the population like? Is there a lot of kids? Are there mostly older adults? Is it a great mix? What are the demographics like? What are you seeing? How is the community evolving?
A lot of people, sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of people see kind of St. Joseph as a retiree town. So there's a lot more older folks than there is younger kids here. But I would say we're a big small town. So it's kind of it's definitely not as big as Kansas City, but we're kind of, I don't know how you say it. We're not as small as certain towns here around town. But one of the things that I love about St. Joseph is, although we have kind of more of older folks here, it is very much, right now, what I'm seeing is so welcoming to young entrepreneurs. And we're kind of seeing a large number of people starting their own businesses, and the people are so welcoming now of these changes and these developments. So for me, I'm starting to see that St. Joseph is becoming kind of progressive. They're becoming progressive. And like I said, we're starting to see a lot more events that cater to Hispanos. And now I see a lot more Hispanos having their businesses, and a lot more Latinos doing things like volunteering, and seeing them kind of in community action places. So it's really exciting to see. Yeah.
Thank you. ¿Qué fue lo que te motivó a postularte como candidato para el school board? What moved you? What inspired you? What just pushed you to say, okay, this is my time, I'm gonna do it? Did you know how to do it? Like, how was that process?
So I guess for me, it wasn't like I woke up one day and said, I'm going to be on the school board and this is my goal. No, for me, it started when my brother, Jeremiah, passed away, which was in 2019. For me, that was kind of like a big wake up call of, I have, all these goals and dreams that I want to accomplish, and I feel like I'm not really doing any of that. So after that, I ended up doing a lot of volunteering. So I literally volunteered in anyone that would take me. I did the Christmas program, which helps families that don't have enough funds for Christmas presents, Souls for Shoes. I started translating for different people in the community, and doing all those things, I ended up at this event for the second harvest. And I started talking to a lady who I pretty much was just telling her, like this is what I do. This is kind of my mission, what I want to do. And she had just brought up the fact that there was an opening for the board. There was 2 openings for the school board. And she's like, there's something that I feel like you would be great at, because we have yet to see someone who's Hispanic on there. And we have yet to see someone who has all this kind of volunteer experience, who is doing all these things. So then I thought, I battled with it a lot, because one of the things that I didn't want to do is, because my kids go to school, I wouldn't want to run for something that I didn't think I was prepared for, that I didn't think I would be able to be effective in. But after thinking about it a while, I put my application in, and that's when everything kind of started. It was kind of like a crazy ride, because after I put my application in, I entered this world that I had no idea existed, and one of the things that I learned while campaigning is, you really think that sometimes cities and the communities are run kind of like by themselves, but you start going into this world where there's so many people who are really trying to help make it better. And that's something that I now am so grateful for, that I'm able to be a part of that circle.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about the supports you have. I like to think that, when we put ourselves out there, when we fight for our seats at decision-making tables that are very important, specifically when we're talking about impacting the lives of our children and our youth. I always talk about sometimes this process being isolating, and the great need to have a support system, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's community leaders, that are not just present, but are there coaching you, affirming you. You talked about the affirmations being important, telling you, this is something you've never done before. But the majority of people that come into these roles, right, it's just their passion and their heart and their desire to impact their community positively. So tell us a little bit about, what did that support system look like for you?
So for me, it started, like I said, when I put my application in. I already knew kind of like some people in the community, based just because I work at a Catholic church. So I know that there's a lot of movers and shakers that go to our Catholic church that I kind of talked to and really just wanted to see their perspective on. But when I started the campaign, I really started to kind of hear all these different names that people would bring up. And I just started contacting them. And the good thing about these people who are influential in our city, or who are volunteers, or who are doing something in the community, they're very willing to help someone who wants to join and do that, and especially someone who's young. Because what I've noticed is a lot of the volunteers, or a lot of the directors of programs, or really people who are trying to give back to their community, are sometimes they fall under a certain age. And it's good. I think they get excited when they see someone who's younger and who wants to do something like this, because I think a lot of us younger people want to kind of live our lives, do our thing. And then at the end, when we have a little bit more time, is when we start giving back. But I think if we start young, then, we can only inspire other people to want to do that as well. But along my journey campaigning, I met a lot of great people. And one of the person that was very impactful is Maria, which Maria Ramirez. So
She's
as soon as I met her,
I love her. Yeah.
Yes. As soon as I met her, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna let you go. Like, you're kind of stuck with me at this point, because I just loved the passion that she had for helping our Hispanic families here in St. Joseph. And I remember she said, when we met, now I have someone who can fight with me against all these injustices. And when what I replied to her was, now I have someone who I know is doing the work and can show me how to do it, because that's something that I've always noticed is, in a way, there was kind of injustices happening in the community, or not injustices, but the community wasn't serving everyone equally. And now I have someone that can show me kind of the ropes on how to become an advocate for everything to be equal for everyone. And after meeting her, she kind of knows a lot of people, which, she's a reporter, a retired reporter, but she knows so many people. And she got me in touch with this wonderful lady. Her name's Elfa, and she lives in the Netherlands. But Elfa helped me with media training. So one of the things that was really odd to me was, or not odd, but I was kind of afraid of public speaking. So with the volunteers jobs that I've had before, it has been maybe like less than 10 people in the building. A lot of them are there also volunteering. So it was never anything where I had to talk in public. So this is the first volunteer thing where I was expected to go to different forums and kind of present myself and sell myself in a way. And so really the course that I had with Elfa, which was really kind of like I think 10-week program, crashed into like a couple of hours each day. It really opened my eyes to, there's certain things that I can do to kind of relax myself when I'm in the public. And one of the things that she had told me is just let your heart speak. Like it's good to be politically correct sometimes, but when you are honest and you want people to know what you're there for, then it becomes a lot easier. And, after a while, I feel like it wasn't so nerve-wracking to be in front of hundreds of people who are questioning you on why you want to be a part of the school board.
One of the interesting things that I learned about your campaign is that it was all digital campaign, right? Like you mostly did your campaign through Facebook, is that right? And then you attended some events, public forums as well. How was that experience?
Well, it actually wasn't digital. So I did do a lot of social media marketing. So I created a Facebook page and kind of put some flyers there and videos. But a lot of it was boots on the ground work. So I went to a lot of forums. Aside from forums, I went to events that were very community-based that brought a lot of people from the community in. So like I said, for me, at the first event that I ever spoke at, I was expected to go up and hold a microphone and tell them who I was and sell myself. And I remember, I was very nervous and I kind of felt like, maybe this is something that I can't do. But after the first one, it became a lot easier. And every forum was different because you would know more of what the concerns were of the public. Because at a forum is you present what you want to present, and then they ask you what their concerns are and what you're going to do about it. And then after, I think the fourth one, I started to really see like, this is super important. Like this is something that is going to impact so many people's lives that I need to, I don't know, it just became something that I was okay with losing, but I was just so like, it became like my biggest goal to win. It became my biggest goal to get to the position, to be able to do something to help the people who felt like they weren't being heard. Because not only at the forums, but once I started campaigning, I started going to like supermarkets or even the bank and talking to people about my campaign. And one of the things that I would usually get a response is, well, we kind of stopped paying attention to the school board. We kind of let them do their own thing. And then, if something controversial comes out or something, then that's when we kind of comment on Facebook or something. But a lot of the people who would say that had kids in the district. So, you have to reinforce that the decisions the school board is making is impacting their children or their nieces and nephews or their friends' kids. Like or even if they don't have kids in the district, it will either way impact you, because a lot of the kids that come out of the schools are going to go into the workforce in the community.
Yes.
So this is something that all community members need to be, actively behind, and not even behind, but paying attention to, so they know what's going on and they're able to let us know, what they would like to see. So that kind of became my mission, is being able to hopefully win and then try to find a way to get the community involved. So.
And you won. There were 5 candidates, right? 5 candidates, 2 seats, and you got the top, right? You had the most votes, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
That is just so exciting. I would like to hear about, how did Latinos in your community respond and react to you winning? Like, how has that been? And then my second question, just so that I want to hear more about you and from you. The second question would be, what is the biggest need for Latino families and Latino students that you're aware of, that you maybe have experienced yourself, as far as that equity in education for their children?
Yes. So I'll answer your first question. So with the Hispanic community, I honestly never felt more appreciated, in life, really, since when I won, everyone was reaching out to me, people who I didn't even know were paying attention to the campaign were reaching out and saying, like, you're such like an orgullo, like, you don't understand how much this means to us and how we have wanted someone to kind of step up, but everybody was kind of afraid to, or really felt like they didn't have the time. But since like I said, I work at a Catholic church, a lot of the Hispanic communities there were coming up to me and just saying, we're so proud of you. And I know my mom, this is something that she'll always have bragging rights about, because, she always just lets me know that she's very proud of me, and she tells everybody that I'm her daughter. And, so it's kind of, you feel like it's bigger than yourself, because although this is an accomplishment for me, it's like, now I have, this mission that it's not going to, be done in one day. It's not going to be done in a year, but it's something that I can continue to learn and to actually make progress. So these people who are saying are proud of me can continue to be proud of me, and hopefully are inspired to also get into, get to be a part of the community, so they can also be in political places, and also so they could make decisions. Their voice needs to be heard too, and that's something that I hope to inspire. But one of the things that I think that affects kind of our Hispanic population in the school district would be, just the lack of representation that we have. We have yet to really see an administrator who is Hispanic, or an assistant principal who's Hispanic. And I think for that, it kind of, not that it really affects directly like grades and stuff, but it affects the motivation, I feel like, because when you see someone that looks like you, or even if you're walking down the hallway and you're like, hey, ¿cómo estás? Just like in their language, what they hear at home, it becomes more inspiring. It doesn't become like, I'm going to hide in the shadows. Like, oh, there's actually someone who probably, speaks Spanish, but it's like me. And people, when they can relate to somebody, there's more of a connection. And when there's more of a connection, then they feel like, they actually want to do the work, and they want to grow and kind of be better. But one of the good things that we do have right now is I attended the graduations at our district, and I was just so proud every time I would see, a Latino kid walk up the stairs, and I just kept seeing more and more. And I was super excited, because they don't understand that for some of them they are the first person in their family who graduated. But not only that, is a lot of them, there was one person who received a scholarship. There was other who went to state for wrestling. So we have so many good things here, that if we highlight these things and we highlight the progression that our Latinos kids are doing, then I feel like that they would feel more connected with us, and the Latino community would feel more connected with us. And that way they would want to get involved and kind of not be scared. And one of the things that I would inspire our Latino parents to do is to come out of the shadows, to not be scared to go to the school board meetings, to not be scared to even show up to their kids' schools and ask the questions that they want to ask. because if we don't know what you need, although I do know I have a perspective of, how we can be better as a district, but really hearing it from them would be kind of a goal, is to get more community participation from our Latino community.
Absolutely. And you just touched on something that is very near and dear to my heart, which is that parent engagement piece, right? That it's both our responsibility as families and as parents, but it's also the district's responsibility to engage with families.
Right.
And when we talk about engagement, we don't just say, oh, it's multicultural night and everybody can bring their favorite dish. That is beautiful. And that definitely really creates and starts building that sense of belonging that is crucial to the work we do and to equity. But the true parent engagement, which means partnering, right? Seeing each other, district, school administrators, educators, and parents as partners in the education of our children.
Yes.
And I would like to hear just a little bit before we wrap up, because this is a casual, just very candid conversation that we host for 30 minutes. And this is our RevvED Up series.
Oh, okay.
About, the priorities you see that maybe the board is already talking about for the coming year. What are the needs that parents are expressing? What is the community wanting to see to push the district forward? I
think right now, one of the things is that we have kind of a stigma with the community. They are always saying that they don't have trust in the school board. So that's something that as a board, we're kind of getting together and trying to figure out, how do we connect with them? How do we get to build that trust so they can engage? Because, after a while, when people start feeling the distrust, they stop getting engaged and they stop really participating when we need them to participate. So right now, our main focus is, how do we build trust with our community again? And, that's the most important thing to us. But I also know that as a board, like it's not a board, but as a district, it's our job to communicate with them, and not necessarily does that mean that we have to knock on their door, but we have to meet them halfway. We can't expect them to come to us if we're holding meetings at secluded places, or if we're not being transparent enough to let them know kind of what's going on, but explain it in a way where we know that we're talking to people, because sometimes we are so stuck on the term educational terms that, it becomes kind of like a mixture, like a web. Like, what are you even talking about? Are you talking about test scores? So if we kind of, in a way, simplify it and really just, like, if you're talking to a friend, this is what we're doing, this is what we're facing, and this is what our plan is, then it becomes clearer than when we try to throw these terms out and kind of just, it doesn't get people engaged. But one of the things that I would like to see is our board meetings being interpreted in Spanish, but not only Spanish, but in Chiquis, in any language, either having an interpreter or having the subtitles provided, but ways to make our communication reflect our community. So
and accessible. It seems like you're talking about access, right?
Exactly. So we can't expect to send information out in English and in Spanish when we have such a high diverse of Hispanics here. We have, Cubans and Venezuelans, and they might not understand the same dialect as, basic Spanish. So really, how do we as a district start to show that we have such a diverse community? And I think that is our biggest challenge. But I also think that right now we have such great opportunity, as you saw, that in my swearing in is, the president and the vice president are both African American.
People of color. Yes. That was very exciting. That was very exciting.
I feel like this is such an exciting time for the district. This is, I think, the most diverse board we have. We're all kind of different personalities, but we all have that one mission to better our community. So I think we're headed in the right direction.
Isaura, you are definitely a trailblazer. You are definitely an inspiration. not only to me, not only to your kids and to your community, but to Latinos who are wanting to get involved in the educational experience of the children and youth in their community. Well, there is a huge need for Latinos to get involved, to step up, to take seats at tables where those decisions are being made, regardless of where that is. Maybe it's at a nonprofit organization, maybe it's at a city level, maybe it is, in a local community organization. But representation is crucial. And you talked a little bit about our children being able to see themselves, right, represented in all of these spaces and fields and positions and areas. And that not only inspires them and motivates them, but it really creates hope. I always talk about hope being something we need to create. Hope does not just surface or exist. It's not just something that floats in the air, right? And so people like you, doing what it takes to ensure that you got that seat. Because I imagine there was anxiety, there was nervousness, there was excitement, there was a lot of learning, like all of the emotions.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of growth, but well worth it seems. And so my last question to you is, what do you hope for the community of St. Joseph? What do you hope for the school district, for the students, for the families, and for educators, let's just say in the next year?
Like I said, one of our biggest thing is trust. So, my biggest hope is that in a year we can build that connection and we can build that trust and really getting the community participation that we so desperately need. And also, I hope for us as a community to be more united. So a lot of our community members, since we go to different schools, there's kind of like we have 3 high schools, and there's one high school that's very prideful of theirs, and another high school is very prideful of theirs. And we kind of had, although that's a good thing to be, prideful of your high school, is seeing ourselves as one, because we are one, and together then we can succeed. But when we start seeing ourselves as individuals, then we can't really make that progress that we all desperately need. So I really just hope that we can build trust and build collaboration. That's what I would love to see. And what I would like to see, I don't know if you asked me this or not, but for our Latino community members is for them to get involved. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a school board or city council, but it could be volunteering. It could be offering your time, at the PTA. One of the things that lags a lot is we don't see a lot of parents who are Latinos part of the PTA. I would love to see, our Latino parents be part of the PTA and help out after school, because not only does that help kind of the collaboration between educator and parent, but it also helps with your children, because when your children see that you're involved in the schools, they get excited. And they start to be like, oh, wait, there's a school carnival and my mom's working, the balloon thing. So they start to get excited about the schools, and it really just starts becoming a community. So that's something that I would love to see.
Well, Isaura, thank you so much. Familia Revolución Educativa. I have been here in conversation with my dear friend, because I consider you a dear friend, Isaura Garcia from St. Joseph, Missouri. Isaura has been recently elected to have a seat at the decision-making table of the St. Joseph School Board. And we're just very proud of her, very excited. We are here to support whatever initiative you're fighting for. We're here to support building collective power within the Latinx community, not only in Kansas City, but within our state and really nationwide. And I am very grateful to you for your time. I know you're a busy mama, busy professional, a busy school board member, volunteer, community advocate.
But for you, I'll make time for you any day.
And I just want to thank you so much. Please share. I know that a lot of our viewers watch this later, at night when they're coming from work, coming from home. Please share this live. We are here to inspire and motivate other Latinas and other Latinos to run for school board or to take those positions where we need to be represented. Our children need us to step up and to guide the way to bringing equity and justice and joy and humanity into their lives. Thank you so much, Isaura. Muchas gracias a todos. Have a lovely rest of your day. Ciao.
Thank you, Christy. Bye.
Bye-bye.